the record of the result is available. There are no copies of the certificates in my personal file. He continues that this is why I formally requested my old school, the Provincial Secondary School, Katsina, which is now known as Government College, Katsina, to make available the school's copy of the results of the Cambridge West African School Certificate. So all of this he did, saying, look, he did it in good faith. And so he's surprised that the army will say they don't have copies of those because there's army records. All of those are supposed to be there.
Simply, that's irrelevant. That is the point. It is irrelevant. The law does not say your school or one body somewhere should present your documents. Understand where I'm coming from and what my concern really is. It is not whether he has 45 PhDs. That's irrelevant. It is that qualification which you even have, which you know. Because while people were conjecturing, he himself, General Buhari, knew that he had that qualification. So what did it cost him? What would it have cost him to have done what the law says he should do?
Is there
for him to have said that he assumed the credentials were with the Army Board is more insulting to Nigerians, because the law doesn't say you should have them somewhere. What the current form says, of which he took home from INEC, says attach the credentials. So even if you assume that they were with the military board, then he ought to have applied to the military board to get the documents and attach them to the form.
Let's look at Section 31 of the Electoral Act as amended, which has got to do with the submission of list of candidates and their affidavits by political parties.
Good.
Now, Section 31 says, subsection 2 happens to be the relevant one here. It says, quote, the list or information submitted by each candidate shall be accompanied by an affidavit sworn to by the candidate at the High Court of a state, indicating that he has fulfilled all the constitutional requirements for election into the office. And then the responsibility of INEC is stipulated here. Subsequently, in the subsection 5, anybody who feels aggrieved knows what to do. But there are those who have said, look, here, there is nowhere that it says here that you must attach.
No,
what it says here is
there's a place where it says the documents that have been filed by the aspirant or by the candidate shall be published by INEC. The documents
is an affidavit, not a document,
including the personal documents. The file, sorry, the form is not your personal document. The form is INEC's document. Affidavit is court document. So your personal documents are maybe your birth certificates, your educational qualifications. And furthermore, the form you took home to complete and return to INEC states specifically that you should attach your credentials. It didn't say, tell us where they are. It said, attach them. Section C of that form that he took home to complete said that. You see, I'm not saying that General Buhari didn't have WASC or PhD or anything. I'm saying that for somebody to have that and thump his nose at the law, and that Nigerians in general is very responsible. That is my take. And it shows the character of the person. It shows the arrogance. Such arrogance is unbecoming of somebody who wants to govern Nigeria. That's my concern.
Let's even get to hear the perspective of INEC in this matter, because a lot of people have spoken that, look, INEC, are they complicit in all of this? But here is what they said the other day.
If you are qualified by law, because the constitutional requirement is that you have a minimum qualification of school certificate. You have told the world I have a school certificate. So by that, ordinarily you are qualified. Does the fact that you never gave that document to INEC disqualify you? The reasoning should be gauged from the position of the law. The law says you are qualified if you attend the school. You've told the world I've attended the school. But what you have not done is I have not given you evidence. Does the fact of not giving the evidence disqualify me? Does that therefore now mean because I didn't show the evidence, I didn't go to the schools I professed that I went to? So these are things that, in any event, it is not the responsibility of INEC to determine whether Buhari or any candidate for that matter is qualified. The law is that it is that of the judiciary.
Well, that's an official of INEC actually speaking about the law and the requirement.
Yes.
He says that if you have attended, it means that you're qualified. You don't have to have the SSC, if we could suggest that, even if you can have a testimonial. He says if you attended and there's proof that you attended, that suffices.
So now, in one breath, he says he's not in a position to qualify or disqualify. And in that breath, he sits at the judiciary, as the judge.
No, the part
You
that
see,
they're
you
not
see,
to qualify, is it not
if we want to go into that
Electoral
interpretation, if we're going to the interpretation of, in this studio, I had said that my proper interpretation of even being educated up to school certificate suggests that you have to have school certificate. But in this case, we're not even talking about Buhari not having school certificate, remember? We're not talking about he's not having it. We're talking about he's not bringing it forward. Because the law says, bring it. The rules say, bring it. And bring it at a particular time. Now, you decide that it's after 1 month or 2 months that, okay, you are disturbing, you're making too much noise. Let me now tell you I have it. When the rules are said, attach them to the form that you are returning. And there was a time limit during which you ought to have returned this completed form. And then INEC was supposed to publish that within 7 days, or 7 days after, for people to now raise objections, if there were any. And all this time had passed.
No, but if we look at subsection 5 of the Electoral Act, which says any person who has reasonable grounds to believe that any information given by a candidate in the affidavit or any document submitted by that candidate is false may file a suit at the High Court of a state or Federal High Court against such person seeking a declaration that the information contained in the affidavit is false.
Have you read 3? Because how would I know that what is submitted is false if you didn't submit it, if it's not published?
Yeah, but where the commission says it has to be published within 7 days.
That's what I'm telling you. That's subsection 3. You didn't read that, you jumped to 5.
No, but
see, something has to, you see, INEC is bound to publish what you have submitted, your personal details which you have submitted, which includes your credentials, your academic credentials. It is when INEC has published it that I will not be in a position to say this is genuine. For instance, now, I heard him talk about late General Yaradua and the retired President of Court of Appeal. So if, for instance, he says that those ones were in that class, and he said, I went to school at so time, and it's a lie. Those people could say, no, they can go to court and say, this man lied. But if there was nothing for them for anybody to even work on, as in this case, because there was nothing for anybody to work with, he didn't submit anything.
So the documents...
and he had not submitted, as of now, he has not submitted anything.
No, but the form that he filled to INEC, you're saying that is not sufficient to show that he is educated up to...
No, it did not satisfy the INEC requirement, because INEC itself said, which is why I'm surprised at what the official of INEC, I don't know his designation, I would have needed to know what exactly his position is in INEC. Because if INEC says, I remember, sometime in the past, I had run for a position. And when we were being screened, we were told to come with our credentials. And I went with my first school leaving certificate, original. My WASC, original. LLB, original. My call to bar certificate, original. All the courses I've attended, the original. And photocopies, which they couldn't keep back. Now, here is INEC telling somebody, please attach your credentials. INEC, not me, not you. Not President, not Buhari, saying, attach your credentials. Now, the person doesn't attach his credentials. And you still took this thing. And you're not telling us that it doesn't matter. That's what INEC man had just said. That it did not matter that the man did not obey the rules of the game. Rules you set for everybody. You see, what is happening here is the normal big man syndrome of Nigeria, the problem we have. And that it doesn't matter, it doesn't matter. And we're complaining about corruption. It doesn't matter, it leads to heavy impunity and serious corruption.
Is there, because if you're saying that he didn't submit those documents, and we've go through the sections of the Electoral Act which says, well, yes, you're supposed to, because the argument out there is, if he fills those forms and submits it, and INEC publishes, and anybody who feels a group can say, no, what you submitted here is not correct. So you're saying that, not that he's not qualified, but he did not follow the rules.
See, the law says submit this. So whether you're in your bedroom and, okay, now we all say Jonathan has PhD, he brought his certificate. If he kept his certificate at home, he wouldn't have satisfied this requirement, even though he had PhD and maybe lectured in Uniport or somewhere. But not having submitted his certificate, he would have been disqualified because he wouldn't have satisfied the requirement of the law.